Home buyers are making some huge mistakes when they're moving to the metro Atlanta area. And with the market changing so much in the past few years, tactics and strategies have to change too. But there are some basic things that never change. And if you overlook them, they could cost you some serious money either now or down the road. This is what we're talking about in today's video. I'm Kelly Allen, and I'm your resource for all things Atlanta and Metro Atlanta real estate related. Let's get started. All right, first on the list is focusing too much on the home itself and not enough on the neighborhood or the area. The first question that you need to ask yourself is, what is the vision that you have for living in this new area? Not the home itself, but in the area itself. And chances are, if you're going to be raising kids in this home, you're probably going to be there for an extended period of time. So I want you to be thinking about what's important about the neighborhood that the home is in and the town that the home is in. Because if you're going to be there for quite a while, you're going to have time to fix the things that you may not like about the house. So instead of focusing on how renovated the kitchen and the baths are, maybe how big the backyard is, instead focus on, does the neighborhood have amenities like a swimming pool and tennis courts where you and your kids can meet new friends? How social do you want to be in your neighborhood as well? If the neighborhood has an amenity package and you see lots of signs of families, then you can pretty much bet that it's going to be a very social neighborhood if you're in Metro Atlanta. If you see a quieter neighborhood, maybe with no signs of play sets and basketball goals and things like that in the neighborhood, then it might be more of a quiet, older neighborhood. None of those are wrong things, and they all work for certain types of buyers, but you've got to decide ahead of time, what kind of neighborhood do you want to live in so that you're not tempted by a home that's amazing and beautiful and renovated, but it's not in the type of neighborhood that aligns with your vision. Okay, second, neighborhood safety concerns. Now, it's easy to fall in love with the best house on the street, and we all know that rule to not do that, right? But if you're buying in town, this can easily happen. I want you to research the crime rates in the area. Also, knock on doors of surrounding neighbors and ask them. My favorite question to ask neighbors and residents of a neighborhood is this: if there were one or two things you could change about your neighborhood or your street, what would they be? People love, thankfully, to talk about how great their street and their neighborhood is and their town is. But when they're faced with the question of one or two things they would change, that's when the truth comes out. That's when you really hear about what's wrong with the area, whether it's crime, whether it's taxes, whether it's too strict of an HOA, whether you've got a cranky neighbor next to you. There's all kinds of things that you're going to find out. Another important reason to focus on the neighborhood and not the house is for future resale value and equity growth. It's easy to fall in love with a really beautiful house that seems to be priced at a bargain price, but buyer beware. Research the area and the property values in the area and the neighborhood before you pull the trigger on what might seem like a too good to be true situation. When I'm researching property values, I'm going back a good 10 years. I want to go back pre-pandemic because we all know what's happened to property values since 2020. I mean, they've just shot up by double digits. But what does a normal property value increase year over year look like for that neighborhood? Does it align with maybe the county or the town average? Or are there red flags there? Is there a reason why property values are not increasing at the rate that neighboring areas are increasing? That's hugely important to know because you're buying this property not only to live in, but as an investment that could fund your future. So we've covered number one, why it's important to focus on the neighborhood, not the house. Now let's go on to the second mistake that I see buyers making, and that's assuming that the market that you're buying into is the same as what you're coming from. So let me give you a real world example with this one. I have some buyers moving right now from San Jose, California, and they are in a very hot seller's market where they know that they can sell their home before they even list it at whatever price they want to pick pretty much. Now, they're buying into a much softer market. They came into this market with the assumption that they were going to have to act very quickly. There wasn't going to be any negotiation, and they would have to give up a lot of their contingencies and their rights in the contract. That is not the case here in Metro Atlanta, specifically Roswell, right now. So knowing what kind of market you're buying in really helps you understand what to expect when you make an offer on a home. Right now, in some areas of Metro Atlanta, and depending on the price point, really, average days on market can be as little as 5 days on market and as many as 60 to 90 days on market. How do you know when the market is rejecting a property and when there should be negotiating room? And also, how much you offer also depends on how long it's been on the market and what's the average list to sales price in that area for that price point for that days on market. It really is like a puzzle that you have to put together. Are seller paying closing costs right now, or are they not? If you ask for anything like that, will the seller engage with you, or will your offer be kicked out automatically? Make sure you know what kind of market you're buying into so that you can win no matter what market it is. Okay, the third mistake that I see buyers making right now in the Atlanta market is buying real estate that works for you and only you. Beware of this mistake that people make when they are moving into the Metro Atlanta area from somewhere outside of the state, and specifically Florida and anywhere outside of the Southeast. Not understanding what the locals like and what the locals hate when it comes to real estate and neighborhoods. Now, it's going to be your house. Completely understand that. But one day you're going to want to sell that house, and chances are that you might sell that house to a local. Wouldn't you rather know now what your future buyer will like about your property, and just as importantly, what they won't like about the property? When you know that ahead of time, it empowers you to make the best decision possible for your future and when you go to sell the home. I'll give you an example. Let's say that you love modern architecture, but you happen to be buying in an area that really loves traditional. There are a lot of traditional homes. And I will say Atlanta is a very traditional town. The suburbs of Atlanta love traditional architecture. I'm not saying don't buy it, but know that when you go to sell it, unless people's tastes have really changed for whatever feature it is, you might be turning buyers away with that feature. Let me give you another example. I showed a family from New York a home in East Cobb, and it backed up to power lines. And I'm not talking about like the little thin power lines. I'm talking about the high tension power lines that Cobb County can have a lot of. They were fine with it. This was not something that was terribly unusual for them. Now, I was fine with it too. However, I always warn my buyers before they make an offer on a house what red flags could be there for resale. And in this case with power lines, it's going to cut your buyer pool in half in the Metro Atlanta area. Again, it really is area dependent, but it does cut out a portion of your buyers. So again, thinking about future resale is critically important when you're purchasing a home anywhere, but certainly in Metro Atlanta. Okay, the fourth mistake I see buyers making is not researching commute times enough. Not researching commute times thoroughly can be a significant mistake for home buyers, and it can negatively impact your daily life and overall satisfaction with your new home. And obviously there's a few reasons. The longer your commute, the more money you'll spend on transportation costs and wear and tear, gas, things like that. Also, a long commute can significantly impact your personal life. You may find yourself having to wake up earlier, which cuts into your time with your family, or maybe you have less time to unwind at the end of the day with your family. It can really limit your ability to spend time with your family and engage in social activities after work or pursue personal interests. And with more and more people going back to work, commute times are very important again. And finally, the last mistake that I see buyers making a lot when they're calling me and we're initially talking about their home search is focusing too much on a single school district. Now listen, while choosing a good school district is hugely important, narrowing your search too much based solely on this factor can have negative consequences. So why? Well, when you focus on too small of a school district, you're narrowing your choices for housing options right there. This can force you to settle for a house that might not meet your needs size-wise or amenity-wise, or it's not in the location that you want, or it's not the condition that you want. You may miss out on a better suited home that's just around the corner, but it's in a different school district. Also, homes in highly sought after school districts come at premium pricing. So if your kids are itty bitty or you don't have kids yet, but maybe kids are in your future, consider purchasing a home in one of the nearby school districts that borders a really excellent school district. And also, by focusing on one singular school district, you might be missing out on up and coming areas. I'll give you a great example. It used to be that a ton of buyers only wanted the Walton High School District in Marietta, Georgia. Now, that means that they tossed Wheeler High School kind of out and didn't pay a lot of attention to it. In the last 5-7 years, Wheeler has become an excellent school with a great reputation. Now, the homes that were bargain prices in that school district have shot up, and it's much harder to get into it. And I know many families who wish they would have looked in surrounding schools around the Walton High School District. Bottom line, moving into a new home can be one of the most exciting and stressful times in your life, especially when you're moving from outside of an area that you know really well into an area that you may not know at all. Okay, so these videos are here to help. I hope this one has been valuable to you. I'm going to link another video that I did that's all about homes that you should not buy in the Metro Atlanta area. So be sure to check that one out. Make sure to click the subscribe button if you're not a subscriber already, and I'll see you in the next video.